Why I have stayed away from the trans community for so long. Like, this is the reason why some girls go into stealth.
And that was the same reason a lot of guys went into stealth as well, because all the bickering and the judgment, and we can't judge. We don't have the right to judge each other. We're all going through the same crap in different directions, but we're going through it. We can't judge each other. I just don't understand it. I love the girls. I don't care post-op, pre-op, 2 toes, 3 toes, red hair, blue hair, no hair. Look more masculine, look less feminine. I don't know. You're family. You're all who you are.
Like,
I think it's like this. If you look at cisgender women or men, look at cisgender people. They're not perfect. They're ugly. Some is cute. Some is ratchetly looking. So we can't be perfect either. I don't think I look perfect. Y'all say I look sexy and all that, but I don't think I'm all that sexy. I don't see it. Sometimes I do when I wake up. Sometimes I don't. I guess it depends on the sun when it's shining. But it, like someone said today, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
And that is true. And then sometimes you have to learn to behold yourself. Like, how the topic was originally supposed to be going in the group, talking about trans attracted men and tranny chasers and that aspect of it. It's like, okay, yes, but at the end of the day, they only do what you allow them to do. And that's my honest opinion. I don't have that issue with trans attracted men or tranny chasers because I let my intentions be known from the jump. And I know what I'm not willing to take. But I know my own value. But a lot of my sisters don't reflect enough. And that's the sad part. Or they're too busy listening from a state of victimhood and automatically going on the attack when they're not just looking at this person just saying what is true for them. And this isn't what I'm saying is for everybody, but for me, that's what it was. And I was like, okay, y'all are belittling this woman. Y'all are attacking this woman. And it's one of your fellow sisters.
Yeah, see, this is what I don't understand, okay? This is what I always say. We're not perfect. And it's like this. Remember when you were in elementary and some kids had crayons and you didn't have any? And the teacher made sure everybody had the right amount of crayons, but nobody had any. But then your red crayon ran out and some little girl or boy beside you said, here, you can have my blue crayon. And you said, well, I need a red crayon. And they were like, well, I'm using the red crayon. So you sat there and you waited for the blue crayon, or you went on ahead and used the blue crayon until they were done. We got to learn to be patient and diligently respectful to others at the same token, no matter what our need may be.
Yeah, because,
I think,
like, she was, like, conversation was being had, but, like, I let you know personally. Okay, we know what the issues are. What are our solutions?
Right.
Like, what is the solution to this problem? What is the solution to the bickering and all the arguing?
The solution is, first of all,
we just be adult enough to...
Here's my solution. My solution is we need to stop bickering, stop going back and forth with it, okay? We need to just realize it it is. Now it is what it is, and accept it and go forward from there. But I think also we have to say to ourselves, like you're saying now, what is the solution? We have to pull coattails. When somebody is rude, we as a community have to pull coattails in a gentle manner, not in an abrupt manner, not in a rude manner, but pull coattails and say, look, let's diligently think about um, what just happened here. Let's really talk about this. I mean, because that's what happens a lot when someone does something. I step in and remind people, we can't keep doing this. We can't keep doing this.
No, but the thing is, like, I was talking to one of my cisgender friends because she happened to come on one of the lives, and he was like, "Okay, do they not realize that they're basically fueling the ideas of what cisgender people think we are already? Like, they already think we're not beneficial to society. All we do is bicker and fight amongst each other, chase dick and ass, and we're basically living a lie."
Right.
And y'all are basically verifying this for them.
Right. You're proving that we're not worthy of any assistance or anything. You're proving that by just sitting here fighting and bickering. You're proving that.
Like, you know, it's like at the end of the day, like I was saying on one of the lives I did personally on my page, like, build community with those of like mind.
Right.
Who can truly be objective and think of more than just themselves and their personal wants and beliefs, and
right,
and do what's best for community village. Like, at the end of the day, we have been attacked by our own people as people of whatever race, but us as African Americans or blacks, even though I don't like to use that term, but we get it worse from our own community outside of the trans and LGBT. So it's like, why are you adding to that? We're already trying to heal from that hurt. Why add on more hurt from your own people? And then you wonder why a lot of our trans sisters and brothers have cis heteronormative mindsets, because you pushed them that way. You basically confirmed everything the cis people been saying.
Well, I think a lot of it too is that we come from that. We come from that. So we don't know how to pull away from that. And when we think we're good to go by pulling away from it, and we find out it's still the grass is not green on the other side, we go back to where that grass was a lot better. The grass might not be as green, but at least there's something there, you know. So we go back to that. So it's hard to pull away from something you're conditioned and used to. And then when you pull away, you don't know what to do with what's on the other side. So you lash out and you start acting out and you start doing things based on what you saw on the other side of the tracks.
No, you're right, I completely agree, Brandon. But the thing is, what I've been trying to get across to my sisters, true reflection, like true self-validation, true acceptance of yourself, even for my trans brothers. Like, at the end of the day, nobody can live your life but you. Nobody.
Right.
We might have similar experiences, but my life is still my own. And at the end of the day, I had to make this concrete for myself, not you.
Right.
So if my reflection of femininity and womanhood isn't the same as yours, who am I to tell you yours is better or mine is? At the end of the day, we're both women.
I think a lot too, let me go back a little bit on that. I think a lot too is, how are we taught what is feminine and what's not? We're taught by what we are exposed to. So what we're exposed to tells us that this is more feminine. This is, for example, I was exposed to men in my family. To me, that was masculine. They sold, they did all kinds of stuff. And to me, that was masculine. Had I been raised around men who worked on the garbage truck or they were womenizers and all that, I would have thought that that was a masculine way of acting. So it depends on what you're exposed to. So does it make you more masculine, more feminine?
Exactly.
No.
Exactly, Melinda. But that's what I get down to, because I even had to break myself from that social construct of what I thought a woman was supposed to be. I had to define that for myself. Like, my womanhood is solely based on what I see for myself. Not what I see for the next girl, not what the next girl sees for me. It's what I see for myself.
Right.
You can't express that for me. I have to express that.
Right. And let me say this. When I was living life as a woman, me being a woman was based upon what was for me as a woman. I had guidelines of what was supposed to be feminine, but what was best for me as a person that was a woman, I lived at best for myself. So being a man, I have guidelines of what's supposed to be within the binary of what's masculine, but I also know what's best for me. I'm not doing it for my masculine. The man that I am is not based on Brandon or anybody else. It's based on what's for me. Remember when I say all the time, when I started this journey, I looked at myself and said, what was the image of the man that was for me? Like you looked at what was the image of a woman was for you. And you put that into motion. And I think the problem is a lot of people in our trans community are going by what they've been exposed to and bringing those traits in, not knowing that's not for you.
The main thing that we always talk about, that is the main downfall of our community. Competition amongst women. Like, at the end of the day, and I've heard this from many of what you would consider trans attracted and tranny chasers who I have had personal conversations with. No matter what, if they were with a cisgender woman, if they were with a trans woman, if he was with a trans woman living his truth, he would be sneaking and sleeping with cisgender women. If he was messing with cisgender women, he would be sneaking and messing with trans women. No matter post-op, pre-op, the image of a woman is what they're seeking.
No op. Right. Right.
It just depends on what the girl is
and the type
them.
of woman that they're seeking. Right.
So, you get all hung up on this, like, I won't date a trans attracted man. Okay, so you're basically denying a man that says he's openly, okay, stupid. But then you want the trade boys who will basically either fight you or sneak around with you and be considered DL because they're not comfortable with themselves. So it's like,
that's like me dating a cisgendered woman that is not comfortable with herself. So I'm dating her and she's on the down low of who she's dating because she doesn't want people to know she's dating a trans man because she's trying to decide if she's a lesbian or bisexual.
Pretty much.
So here's the secret. I think we got it as trans men. I'm not going to be your dirty secret. I'm not going to be your dirty secret.
And that's
so I'm not going to date.
But like I was saying, like my comments I was making in the live earlier, that's what I was basically saying. Like, at the end of the day, you have to raise your standards. You set the boundaries of what you are willing to accept and what you are willing to take. Like, at the end of the day, no man will ever be able to say he didn't know I was trans that has ever talked to me. Will never be able to say he didn't know I was trans. Will never be able to say that it was no, if you can't meet me in the daytime, if you can't take me out, I'm not even supposed to entertain you. Because that lets me know you're Cause like, not to be passe, but my womanhood is in question.
Right.
The only reason you want to keep me a secret is because you know.
Right.
So I'm not
right.
Like, I have more value in myself. I know my worth as a woman. Like, so a man doesn't validate that for me. I'm like, I know how I look. I know how my body is. I know me. So I don't need a man to tell me that.
Right. You don't need anybody. We don't need validation. We don't need validation. I think sometimes when people need validation, it's a sign of self insecurity. And we don't need validation. You need to validate yourself. Look at the mirror every day and validate yourself. If you're not validating yourself in the way that you need to, or it's not comfortable, then you need to understand to your own self that, hey, I'm not comfortable this way and I need to do something about it. What do I do? I mean, people, I hate to say this, but I'm going to say this. People always say, I wish I could be a trans man. You know, we go through the same crap every day. We deal with self-validation. We really do, because
I have talked to trans men, especially trans men who haven't had their top surgery yet, or trans men who
these women, these trans women are walking around here doing all this. But do y'all not understand? There's a lot more trans men that can't even get top surgery right away. Some of them are big and heavy set guys. They got to get a reduction and then go back and get a removal. So, you know, we go through it in a way that's so crazy that we don't really say much about it. We just keep it moving, because honestly, yes, we all envy each other for having each other's top surgery, but we also tend to say it's just not my time. Because I keep telling people, for 40 something years, I had to wait for my top surgery. Were there other people having surgeries? Yeah, they were. Was I getting envious and jealous? Yes, I was. But I kept saying, there's a reason I'm not having my top surgery, and it will come for me. But I kept saying, I'm going to have it before I'm 60. So I did. I got it before I was 60, you know, but I had to accept the fact of, this is my body and this is what I'm going to have to do. And I'm going to have to find ways to maneuver around my dysphoria to be comfortable in society around others. And they don't have to validate. The funny thing was, when I had top surgery, people said, top surgery? What are you talking about? And I was like, yeah, I just had top surgery. Oh, I thought you had your breast removed. What happened was, I didn't ask for validation. I validated my own self. I was confident enough to feel good enough to keep bonding until the right time. So we have to validate ourselves. Don't let. And that's what happened. I was like, well, okay. Then they just validated I was a man. They didn't even know. So I think we have to stop looking for validation.
Well, you know,
for approval
like,
from others.
Even when the times like I'm not putting in my best effort, or I do feel clocky, like, those are the moments that revalidate me. When I'm not feeling myself and somebody says, walk up to me and say, oh, you're beautiful. Oh, how are you today, ma'am? And little things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like, okay, that's reaffirming. Okay, I might not be feeling it, but it's my essence is showing. Because that's how I look at it. My feminine essence is showing, regardless of if I feel rough or not. So it's like, my womanhood is always present. Like, so I don't need that validation from somebody else.
You always need it from yourself. You always need it from yourself. Because people validating you could be a lie. It could be a lie. Because, you know, remember when you were a child and you remember you were young or whatever, and you would say to somebody, so how do my shoes look? And they probably the ugliest shoes your mama bought you. Oh, I like them shoes. And they walked away and giggled to you and validated your shoes. I mean, you thought those shoes was the bomb until somebody said something about your shoes 2 weeks later. Girl, why you got them shoes on? them little ugly looking shoes, and you're thinking to yourself, well, wait a minute, somebody said they was nice and now they're not nice. And then you cry about it. We can't let people validate. We can't do that. We can't do that. They don't have a stamp of approval. If
Yes,
they're
and
not
then
certified and have a degree in it.
another thing I wanted to touch on is like, okay, if you're not really mature enough for adult conversation and you can't sit and agree to disagree, or you're just sitting here listening to respond, you don't need to be in this type of conversation or involved in this type of community conversation because you truly have nothing to give to the community.
Right. Right. You're so right. If you don't have, and I'm not putting anyone down, but if you don't have the intellect for that conference, come on now. You're not going to sit in a conference room with doctors and don't know what the hell they're talking about, but you're going to sit in there and act like you're talking about something. Don't sit in conversations that just sit there and listen and learn. I do it. A lot of times I'll sit and I listen and learn. I hear the girls talking. Sometimes it's a topic. I'm like, here we go again, but I'll sit here and listen. I'll listen and learn because I'm beginning to understand what's going on around me. So I could say, you know what? This has got to stop. It's got to stop. I can't stop it as a trans man, but I can work with my sisters to help make us yield to it.
Yeah, because it's what I'm trying to build with my trans sisters who I have built connections with is a true network of support, a true network of understanding, and just like people to be there on those hard days. Like the other day when I was having my issues with wanting a baby and going through my little my baby fever, as I call it. But I had sisters that reached out to me. I had sisters that let me talk to them and let me know how I felt and helped me through that moment. And that's what sisterhood is about. That's why I'm always saying sisterhood, brotherhood, community, village is very sacred to me. Like, this is supposed to be a space where you feel safe, where you feel like you can voice your opinions and not be judged or belittled or invalidated for having your opinion.
Right. I just think we need to let people understand you can't expect people to validate who you are. You have to validate yourself. You have to. Not even a man or a woman can validate you.
That's why, like, in transitioning, I'm always talking spirituality. And, like, spiritually, you need to be sound to deal with this lifestyle or to live this trans life. You have to be spiritually sound. You have to be spiritually strong, because even within the trans communities, there's so many different reflections of trans that you can get lost, you can get confused, you can get pulled towards something that's not really for you, but you're thinking this is what I'm supposed to do as my reflection of trans, versus living for yourself and knowing what is best for you in your transition and healing your dysphoria for yourself as far as your medically necessary procedures. But it's like sad because I'm like, we're grown. Like,
right.
We're supposed to be grown. We're supposed to be able to agree to disagree. I don't have to agree with what you said.
Right.
But I want to attack you for what your opinion is.
Right. I can only accept the differences we have, because as you accept differences of each other, you learn to see that those differences in time will come. They won't clash. They'll mold together. In the beginning, they may not be fitting, but in time, they end up melting together.
No, but the difference is, like I say, it's an acceptance of differences.
Yes.
And not expecting everybody to be of like mind. Like a lot of times we get into conversations with people hoping that they're like-minded versus somebody who, and you have an issue with somebody who challenges your way of thinking. Like that's where the conflict comes in. You can't, like in numerology, the numbers you war with teach you more than the numbers you are compatible with. Because they make you face yourself. They make you, okay, if this is concrete for you, I'm going to challenge you to make sure this is concrete for you.
Right.
I'm not just going to reaffirm what you're thinking. I'm going to challenge you to make sure that's what you truly think.
Right. Right.
Be able to see things from both sides and stop being so objective. Sometimes you got to learn to be subjective.
Yeah, because I've been on lives and I've had my coattails pulled, and I said, okay, I hear what's being said to me, and my coattails been pulled, but I'm not agreeing with that because that's not what I know. But I'm not going to sit here and argue with somebody and da-da-da. I'm not going to do that. I just say thank you for your clarity and keep it moving. And I'm like, that's how they feel. I can't change it. But you know what? In time, whatever the differences are, somebody might come on your side of the fence and say, you know what? I see where you're coming from. I took time to listen to you. I didn't agree with you. But in time, I'm beginning to see where you're coming from. And I respect that.
True. Because, like, I like my sisters that challenge me. They make me reflect on myself.
Right.
They make me
challenge is good. Challenge is good. It makes you revamp yourself. If you don't revamp yourself, you're going to stay stagnant. And
but
that's
one
thing
for inspiration.
Right, and that's one thing
that inspires you.
That's why I like going to a therapist. I don't go frequently anymore, but I go to one. Excuse me. Oh, I'm getting old. I go to one, and when I go, it's for me. It's for me. It's not for my transition. And when I was going for my transition, I was really going for me. And my therapist was like, "Well, you really don't need to go." I said, "I'm coming for me." And I think too, a lot of our trans brothers and sisters need to go to therapy. They need to go to therapy.
But the difference is, like, I studied psychology, sociology, sex psychology. Like, I studied aspects of the brain, the personality, the emotions, and that was going to be my field of expertise going into school, along with esoteric studies. But in learning all these things, it made me reevaluate myself. That's why I really think sociology, psychology should be taught like in high school. Like that's something you need to learn to deal with people in society, period. Like, because it gives you more understanding to the human brain and why people react the way they react.
Right.
So it's like, because like when Sister Sharon is talking on medical terms and psychological terms as far as transsexualism, transgenderism, transgender, transsexual, the differences and the medical and psychological differences between the two. It's like, okay, at the end of the day, because I studied psychology, I know those differences. I know what categorically is a transgender male or female, or a transgender female, or a transsexual female or male. Like, they're two completely diverse sets of dysphoria.
Right.
So it's like I was telling Sister Michaela, it's basically defining your trans experience and educating people based on your trans experience.
Right.
But we get so caught up on labels and not wanting to be labeled. But the labels help. That way you don't have the issues you have amongst the girls. So it's like, instead of just saying the umbrella term, I'm trans, say I'm transgender. Say I'm transsexual. It's like it's there for a reason, so you don't have this divisive language, and we can truly move forward.
Well, I think I don't know what to say right now because it's so much. It's just so much, and like terms of a lot of terminology and verbiage is separating us. It's causing conflict between us. Because there's people that say to me, well, Flex, you're transsexual. I'm like, okay, you're calling me transsexual. I'm a man. That's like, I'm a man. That's all I can say.
No, but see, the difference is, like, me and you understand that fact. But for the girls who are wrapped up in that world, they don't understand that fact. I'm a woman first. I'm a trans experience second.
Right.
Like my trans didn't make me a woman. I've been a woman. I have trans experience. Difference. It's just I was born a different type of woman. So,
right.
You know, it's like, oh, it's baffling because it's like we're attacked by everybody.
Yes.
And then you come into your own community, your own sacred space, and are attacked by your own people.
I just think we just have to start working on pulling coattails, gently pulling coattails, and working with those that need special attention, as they said back in the day.
Well, of course.
We just have, we have to work on those and allow, like this kind of, like Real-Nez Reality, I closed it for a lot of reasons, like I was saying earlier, so that we can have these dialogues, so we can have these conversations. And when someone comes in and wants to be toxic, we can pull the coattail and guide them to see things in a different way.
As the person who has sympathy and empathy for people, I would personally hit you up and be like, okay, what is causing this for you? Where is this coming from? Like, why do you feel attacked by this person speaking their truth? Like, that is truth for them. That's not true for you. You don't have to be defensive for somebody else's truth.
Right.
Truth is relative.
And I think a lot of it, too, is that when they get in these rooms and these conversations where there's a lot of dialect, a lot of people going back and forth, it becomes like Melinda said, toxic. Ooh, you all, excuse me. It becomes a toxic, and because of that, then it gets derailed, and no one can really pull somebody back in and say, let's work on that. But when you have something like this, we're able to say, okay, let's work on that. Let's work on that. Let's help you out with this, because you don't have so many people outside looking in.
And it's just like, and then when cis people stumble into our spaces and they see us acting like this.
Right.
It's like, that's the part that makes me sad, because they're like, look at these bitches.
Yeah. And we don't want people looking at us like that. We really don't want that.
We're already looked at like that anyway, so why add to the fire?
We got to learn how to change that. We got to learn how to dissolve it. It's going to be long. It's going to be hard.
It be when I meet somebody and they find out I'm trans, and they be like, well, you're nothing like a trans woman that I would have thought. I thought trans women all acted a certain way and were extra, and like, that's not me. That's not my reflection of womanhood. I'm sorry. But I don't judge the girls that are, but that's not me.
Right.
Like, at the end of the day, all I can ever give a person is me. If you can't accept me, I don't need to be around you.
You're true.
And a lot of my sisters and brothers need to learn how to be alone. Sometimes being alone actually helps you. It helps you find yourself, reflect on yourself.
Yeah. It gives you time to really work on you. Sometimes you got to walk away from the community to be you.
Exactly. Like um before I came into the trans space, I was single 9 years. I was celibate for 4. I made sure my transition was completely for me and no one else.
And that's what somebody told me when I started. They said, Flex, you're gonna have to live stress free in order to find yourself and be comfortable with your transition. And I think a lot of us are failing to give people the basic knowledge, the basic information that they need in the beginning of their transition. Because I tell a lot of trans men when they call me, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to give you the happy side of it. I'm going to give you the negative side so you can make a choice. And people say, why do you do that? I said, because you know what? If you tell the child that they can ride a bike tomorrow, but you don't tell them that they're going to skin their knees every time they get on that bike, they're going to give up right away. But if you let them know what's going to happen prior to, they can prepare. And I think that's what's going on, is that everybody, a lot of these girls have friends, and they group up and they follow each other, and it's like, okay, well, you did it, so I'm not going to do that. But sometimes we have to be able to guide each other. We have to guide each other. And I think that's where we're lacking right now, is guiding each other. And that's why I say, I'm bragging. I'm gonna say this, and some of the guys say it's not true, but I find in the black transman community, we got it together a little bit better than the girls. Not 100%. We still have some mess going on, but we tend to extend and help the girls out, because we didn't have help when we transitioned. When I transitioned, I didn't have anybody.
Yeah, because especially like me, like it was hard for me to get support and help from my trans sisters, and finding doctors and asking about hormones, and like they were like bitch, you basically a woman already, so like I'm not gonna help you. Like, yes. And then they wonder why the no surge girls have issues with them, because it's like we're wanting to do what we need to do, but there's no guiding hand. And it's like all the women that have encouraged me and helped me have been from out of state or cisgender women.
Wow.
So like when women say they have the issue they have with cisgender women validated my womanhood, even though I didn't need them to.
Wow.
And they pushed me to transition, and were helping me find avenues and outlets and things of that nature. I didn't get that from my own sisters.
And that's crazy, because we try to help each other, the brothers do. Somebody calls me and says, look, I need that. I'm like, okay, this is what you're going to have to do first. You're going to go to this doctor or that doctor. You're going to have to go through these hoops first. And then once I tell them, I may not hear back from them, because they feel like I'm stopping them but I'm like, no, man, I'm telling you what the hoops are. I'm telling you what you got to do. I can help you get through there, but I'm not going to give you your medicine. I'm not going to give you my medicine. I'm not going to give you money to get the medicine. You got to go through the same thing I'm going through. If you need any insurance, I got a card, a discount card, you get your medicine. I can't tell you what to do. Everyone's going to have to go through those steps. In order to buy a car, if you buy your own car, remember when you was a kid? I'm going back to the kid thing. Even if you're grown, somebody gave you a car, you don't appreciate it well enough. But if you buy that car, it could be a piece of crap. That car is gold to you. That is your car. You appreciate it so much better. You take
Yeah.
care of it so much better.
But see, because I was treated that way, that's why I have the sense of sisterhood and community that I have now. Is because I would never want to be that for somebody else. I wouldn't want to make a person feel isolated or less than, or like, bitch, I think you're gonna be more passable than me, so I'm not gonna help you.
Yeah, I think that's how. I think that's probably why I am the way I am.
So it's like it's
Because I'm willing to help you, but you have to understand I'm helping you for the best, not for the worst. Now, if you don't want the best and you want to jump hoops, you're on your own. I'm not going to judge you for it, but you're on your own. I've had people come to me and say, what doctor are you going to get? I need to get my meds, baby. I'm telling you a secret. You're going to have to go to therapy because a lot of these doctors they want documentation before you start transitioning. They really do. Here in the state, they do. I don't know about other states. I mean,
well,
I was called the
like
other
in
day.
Texas, I was getting referred to like doctors in Minnesota and like out of state. And when I did finally find a doctor here, expensive, so I have to get insurance. So I'm working on getting my insurance now and going through all the necessary steps that I have to go through to start. And like I told my mom, like I told my gay mother, like I told my brothers, I want to do everything the right way. I don't want any complications. I don't want me transitioning to kill me.
Right, right. That's why I tell the boys when they call me, I'm like, let's talk about this transition idea. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about the medicine. Let's talk about a lot of this before you know ahead of time. And some of them, I tell them, you need to lose weight because if you don't, you're gonna have problems.
Because like
I
my
mean,
doctor
they
told
don't.
me just from doing the eval we did over the phone, I need to stop smoking. I need to get on a workout regimen because I have heavier set women in my family, so I have a risk of getting heavier set. Like all these things before even starting my hormone process. Luckily, I already produce high levels of estrogen anyway, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, oh, of course, Melinda. But I just wanted to, you know, say that I'll get back on a little bit later, but I'll be in the comment time.
Okay, I just saw she made a comment. All right, let me let Melinda come back in and Melinda come back on. If there's anybody else that wants to chime in,
I think
this is
Brandon
Hot
did too.
Topic. We're talking about community. I'm gonna let Brandon in too. We're having hot topic discussion how we can resolve the chaos in community and make things better.
Okay, I thought it was kind of interesting because like talking about personal process and all that. Um, I didn't start transition until I was in my early 40s. So about
Right,
like 4 or 5 years since I started tentatively coming out, and I've been fully out for like 3 years.
right,
Yeah, and that's a huge deal. I mean, like I used to regret that I didn't start when I was like 20 and all that shit. But you know what? I didn't. And I don't have a fucking time machine,
right,
so I can't change that. But one of my big things is when I first started, I had this preconception about what transition was going to be like. And over time, I began to realize that I wasn't a trans woman. I was just a woman. You know what I'm saying? And I think
right.
that's a major point that we need to address. It's like the whole trans component is important as far as being like an activist and like connecting with other trans people. But as far as your own personal journey, I'm just a chick.
Yeah,
Like,
I think we took that word so deeply. The word trans, you know, it's like It's like when people are African of African descent, they're African American, but they accept the word black.
Mm-hmm.
So people that are of difference, how they evolve to be the women they are. I'm beginning to use the word I'm a man from the binary spectrum.
I had some kind of weird preconception that because it had been a fantasy for so long, and maybe if I transitioned when I was 20, it would have been a reality, but I waited so long, and I don't regret that. I've come to terms with it. But I had this idea that I was just going to be like, oh, you're going to be a chick now. No, you're going to be someone struggling with your gender identity. And at some point, you're going to come to terms with who you are. And it's going to become your personal journey, not some
Right,
kind of generic transgender journey. You
right.
know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. So that's sort of all I wanted to say. I think that's an important point that needs to be included in this conversation.
I think
Um,
we, I think we're, I think honestly we are abusing the word transgender and
I
transsexual
think we are too. I agree.
because trans really means transfer,
It does.
transfer. We're only transfer.
Transcendence, transcendence,
Transcendent.
transfer, transcendence. Yeah.
You're right. Right. So I think we're abusing it in a way that's so off the wall because, you know, I didn't even know the word existed until as I
Well,
got
I
older.
didn't either, right? Because I mean, you're older. I'm one of the older people in these forums, and you're older than me, you know. And we
Right.
didn't know what that word meant in like 1982, did we?
Right.
It wasn't even in the parlance. It wasn't part of the terminology.
Right.
I thought I was insane. I thought I was crazy. I thought
Hmm.
I was schizophrenic. I was worried about myself.
I
You
thought
know.
I I thought I had a sexual problem.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't know
yeah.
what it was. I was confused, and I thought I was a gay man trapped in I'm in a woman's
Hmm, hmm,
body.
hmm.
I just thought that there was a spirit in me that was a gay man, and that's why I didn't like having sex with men because I knew it was wrong because I was a woman. Oh, I went through the whole
I know,
crazy.
I know.
But
It's all
you
mixed
know,
up. It's all mixed up and crazy and just
right,
stupid.
Ari.
And
Ari
yeah.
said that's right. She said you're reflecting your soul on the outside. She's
Hmm.
so right. So
She
right.
is right. She is right. A friend of mine, I thought I was crazy because like
She just said
dead
that. Okay,
name
look. She
Dead
just
name
said that.
had like a girl named Melinda living in his head. No, Melinda had dead name person living in her head. It was the other way around. And it took me
Right. And
forever
see
to get that. It took me forever to get that point. You know,
and see
I've
and
always been a woman.
see Ari just did this. She said transgender is mental, transsexual is genitalia. But here's the
Yeah.
sex, here's the thing. And so I'm not a genitalia. I'm just a man.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
would I be just a man?
Mm. I spent the first year of my public transition pretending to be a trans woman before I adapted to the fact that I'm just a woman. And like trans is
Right.
part of my identity, but
Right.
it doesn't define who I am.
Right. Right.
And I think that's a really big deal. Your trans aspect of yourself should be your activism, your community, your friends, your speaking up for other trans people, your assistance, your help, your love, your faith, but it's not you. It's an
So
outreach. It's an
so
outreach.
so here's my thing. Binary means something made of two things or parts. So I'm thinking I am made of two parts, but I'm really of two parts, but I am only one. I am she, he, and we. Yes or no?
Yes. Well, if you're comfortable with the she he part, everyone should
I'm
have
just
the we
saying
part. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
evolved from she to become the he that I am, but because I carry my masculine and feminine energy on an equal balance and I accept both for what they are within me, I am a combination of we.
And that's awesome. And that works for you. For me, I am not comfortable with the he part. I'm happy to get rid of it. But see, that's my journey, not your journey.
Right. And
You
it's
know?
not
Yeah,
wrong to have your own journey either.
exactly.
Because your journey is
Exactly.
not
I
my
don't want
journey. How
anything.
you feel for you, how you feel for you
Exactly.
is you. Right, Ari, wholeness. However makes you whole for you is you. And whatever makes it whole for me is me. So it's not our place as individuals to sit and tell each other what is right and wrong for each other. Whatever makes you whole and
And
makes you feel
judge.
complete for yourself, that is of
And
you.
judge.
You have to, it goes right.
You're
It goes
essentially
back to you.
judging when you,
Right. Or
yeah,
right.
that's
It goes back to
thresholding. That's
validate.
thresholding.
It goes back to validating your own self. We can't validate you, baby. That's all it comes down to. And we have
No,
to get on
that's
when we
on
get on
you.
these lives,
That's on you.
we need right, we need to say to each other when we get on these crazy lives, no, 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 it's not up to us here to validate you. I think if we start saying that, people will turn around and stop looking to be validated by the community.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to the old, what's that cliche? You can't love someone if you can't love yourself. You know, you
Yep.
can't be yourself if you can't accept who you are, and then you
Right.
can't accept other people into your reality or into your
Right.
situation if you don't acknowledge who you are in the first place, you know.
Right.
And that's the probably the major lesson that came out of public transition for me, was learning to stop trying, to just let it go. You know, I have
Mm-hmm.
honestly, and no insult, no offense intended. I have some female trans friends who are at the beginning and they're still basically cross dressing. They're like, oh, look at my stockings and my tights, and don't I look cute in all these clothes? And I'm waking up every morning and just throwing on some shorts, because I've gotten past that point. And I'm not bragging about that. It's not something that I'm proud of. I'm just saying that, like, everyone should get to that point where they just accept themselves, and you're no longer trying to prove a point. There's no longer a purpose to it. You are just who
Right.
you are. You're a dude, Flex. I'm a chick. You know what I
Right.
mean? We're no longer, we're past that level of trying to, like, validate ourselves in the eyes of other people. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That's why when we get on these lives and people start trying to validate themselves in front of us, we have to say, baby, you have to validate yourself. We can't do it for you. You
No,
have to
you have to
do
go
it.
do it. You have to go do it by yourself.
You have to
And
do it. I
maybe
can't
with
allow
your
you to validate.
friends, maybe with your friends and your family, you have to outreach or whatever. That's fine, you know. But
Mhm.
we can't hug box you all day long.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we can't go to bed with you and wake up every day. We don't know what you're really going through.
Exactly. So
We're not you.
anyway, that's all I wanted to say. If Ari wants to jump back in, Ari, I don't know how you pronounce it, sweetie.
Ari, she gonna have me laughing too. Ari, Are, Miss
It's
Amon.
either Ari or
Just call her Miss
Ari. I don't
Amon.
know.
Just call
I'm
her
asking
Miss
out of
Amon.
respect though, because I don't want to mispronounce her name. So,
She
yeah.
correct us when she comes on, and then she'll probably, when she sees me in person, she'll probably hit me in the back of my head or something.
Smack. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we'll get it together. I think it's just, like I said, doing it here we can get rid of the havoc and really have some real positive conversation, and people can walk away with feeling better about what we can do as a community, because there's so many of us going back and forth, and it's backlashing, and it's hitting everybody in the face like, well, what's going on. I think right now just doing it this way will be all right. I think we'll be all right.
Okay, so anyway, I said my piece. If someone else jumps back on, I'm not trying to dominate the camera.
Now, Melinda, don't you go nowhere, because tomorrow night is, our sexy night.
I ain't going nowhere, sweetie. You know I'm not going anywhere.
We're doing these lives now, boy. We got a whole week of lives: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We got the Monday was the Trans Man series, which I'm actually going to make that public till we get enough trans men.
I stayed out of that because that's not my space.
Well, you can listen. You can learn and listen.
Okay, I didn't know if you wanted me in there or not. I was trying to.
No, you can learn and listen, because it's a place of, it's our space, but we want people to come and learn and listen, and also learn the truths and the myths. We're gonna really talk about some things, because we learned so much about these trans women. There is almost 5 lives or more a day about trans women, and I'm like, they get more coverage than the Murray Show now. Nobody's watching TV anymore. They are waiting to see who's going to get on and do a live. So we are trying to give the guys a space. And then, Brandon, I'm getting you on next. And then after that, we have Hot Topic Tuesdays, which are right here. And then we'll also, what are we doing? And then we have Sexy Talk Wednesday, which everybody likes. Myself and Miss Kimberly, she had her foot in the freezer and a fan blowing on her. Ari was there too. And then on Thursday, we just have a basic community conversation. I think Tuesdays and Thursdays will be conversation time and feedback on what's going on and yada, yada, yada. So stand by. We're going to bring Brandon in, and hang in there, Belinda.
Let's let Brandon talk. Thank you for giving me a small platform. I decided that to say.
No problem. You're part of the family. You got to talk sometime.
Of course. I know, baby. I know.
Okay, we got Brandon. Here he goes. Put on your best face, son. Brandon's gonna put on he had a haircut today, so everybody, he's trying to look sexy. Watch out.
Hello, all.
Put his damn gay flag in the back. I love it. Go ahead, boy.
Yeah, I had to represent my own flag. So the validation, that actually is a good topic that I want to really touch upon, because for me as a gay man, I don't expect validation, but hey, Ari. But when I guess for me personally, my validation to know that I'm gay is this flag. Okay?
No,
that's my validation.
Your validation
to know that I'm gay.
No, your validation is when you have some guy call you a grinder. That's your validation. What are you talking about? And you like that. That's your section. That's your sexuality. So that's your validation. But that's not really you're not really a gay man. You're pansexual. You have claimed it because you be dipping and dabbing.
That is true. That is true. And that is a flag I am working on getting. So in due time. But I mean, honestly, the whole thing that I believe with validation for anybody within the LGBT community is, like I said before, it really all begins with the individual, because if you don't have validation within yourself, then who are you to sit there and try to validate somebody else?
Well, it's not our place to validate anyone anyway. It's our place to accept difference. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm exactly. And every time I watch a live video that, I've loved to watch as of the age of 18, the guy that I watch, he always says the change always begins with you.
Right.
And I think that that really goes to show that in order to change the community, we have to change ourselves. And if we can't change ourselves, how are we supposed to really sit there and change the community?
So right.
I mean, so that's why I've been working along with you, Flex, because I really believe that in order to change the community, we have to change ourselves.
Change helps. That change begins with you. You're right. You were so right
Exactly.
about that.
hmm So, I mean, the inspiration and reaffirming, and however you want to say that, reaffirmation, you know what I'm trying to say. But
Refirming. Just refirming.
yeah, pretty much reaffirming, exactly. Thank you. That's definitely something that we all need to really look at within ourselves, no matter however you identify. And that's another thing. The labels. I actually had a discussion. You and I both know this discussion, Flex, because we had it. But I had this topic brought up to me by a neighbor within, you know, our neighbor, one of our neighbors, I should say. And he believes that the labels, we should just get rid of the labels.
Well, we've been
Bottom
saying
line.
that for years, Brandon. Labels are just something that some people need something to hold on to. And that's the whole
Right.
thing is that, for a lot of people, even in our trans community, we're using the label trans, we're using the label trans man, trans.
hmm
We're using labels. And that's why I'm a man. And Melinda says she's a woman. And Ari says she's a woman.
And that,
We're not labels.
but see, that's the thing. That's the thing, Flex. Like Melinda says, and like Ari says, you shouldn't have to say trans. You are a man. Ari is a woman. Melinda is a woman. You shouldn't have to say that you're a trans man, or Ari shouldn't have to say she's a trans woman. And same goes for Melinda. You're a woman, they're women, you're a man. And as you say, of trans experience.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you're right. We shouldn't have to sit there and have that label of saying, yes, I'm trans. Yeah, we don't know that you're trans unless you show or do or whatever, because that's your choice. But at the end of the day, you're a man and Ari and Melinda are women.
Right, because living within the binary, you could see that there is no feminine features of myself. Looking at Ari and looking at Melinda, there are feminine
Melinda.
features about. So why should we have to disclose that? The only time you disclose it, I tell everybody, the only time I need to disclose it to you, to anyone, is when I go to the doctor or a job situation for my safety.
Mm-hmm.
The only time. Even the people in the trans community, I've never even disclosed it. People ask the question when I'm on live, is he a trans man? And someone says, yes, he's a trans man. Because I don't disclose it. There's no need to disclose it.
Right, right.
Unless they're being nosy and think I'm going to be like a down low uh, booty call or something of a guy. I don't know. She said, when you
Yep,
walk
like
into my,
Ari says, when you walking into my
that's right.
bedroom, yep.
That's right.
That
That's the only
mm-hmm.
time you need to know my business. And everybody that knows me now are now finding out I'm trans. They it doesn't change their perspective of who I am as a man. People will say, "Well, I don't care. You're still a dude." I was a dude before I told you. So what's the difference?
Exactly.
But that's their way of saying it doesn't change me seeing you as you. And so I accept that when they say, well, it doesn't matter, you're still a dude. That's saying, I still accept you for you. This is not going to change. I didn't think it was going to change anything. I wasn't trying to hide it. I just didn't think it was needed to put that. It's like putting a sign on my in front of me. Hey, I'm a trans man. I don't need that. I think that's what's going on with trans men. We don't feel there's a need to put a sign on front of us saying trans man. That's why we're called the invisible men. We don't need that sign. Just like trans women don't need that sign. Stop putting a damn sign in your front and just live your life and walk forward. Stop trying to get people to validate the word trans woman for you. You don't need to be validated. Validate your own self. Like you being a gay man that's realizing you're different now with your pansexuality coming out your ears. You validated that yourself. You don't have a sign on front of you. I mean, yeah, we've had some discussions while you tried to prove it, but now you're realizing I don't need to validate what I do behind closed doors. That's your business.
Exactly.
It's not going to change what you do as a person unless you're having sex every 5 minutes, every time you doing something outside, smoking a cigarette, having sex, smoking a cigarette. I mean, yeah, it's just going to change, but I don't think that's going to I don't think that's going to happen. I'm just saying, you know, we got to stop putting those labels and carrying them like a big old necklace heavier than a gold chain. Like that's helping validate you. Be you and live you.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, you know, you and I both know this, Flex, because we live together. But but a lot of people in the area that we live in the complex that we live in, know that I'm gay. But then there's also many people in the complex that don't know I'm gay.
Right.
But that's me choosing which people I choose to feel comfortable saying that to.
Right.
Such as the neighbor that I was speaking about.
Right.
And it feels good to know that there's maybe one or two people out of many in the whole complex that can accept me for being gay.
Right.
You know, and I've told them straight up, I can respect you as a straight cisgendered individual, so I don't want you to think that I'm going to try to hit on you. You know, because that's what a lot of the straight cisgendered people do. They feel like I'm going to hit on them.
Yeah, people think anything of LGBT is for sex. And I think that's what people need to get that under mind. A lot of us aren't walking around here with a sign saying sex now, sex now. You know, we all like sex, but we're not sitting around and walking around looking for it. I think that's what people need to understand. I think what's happening now is as we're evolving as a community, it's LGBT is very common, but we as trans people, we're gonna have to learn to stop walking around with the big heavy chain and a sign that says trans, and learn to live self. Learn to live self first.
Exactly. And I like what Melinda said, that we should internalize
trans, not externalize it. Right. If you want to express your transness, fine. I use it for activism. Same here. It doesn't define my reality as a human. It expresses a component, and it says see more, but I don't read all that. But I'm just saying, I understand where she's from. I do. I really do.
And for me, Melinda, I use my sexuality to
get a date,
open people's no, not always to get a date, but yes, I will admit that's part of it. But I use it to try to open people's minds up to it, to help them understand what it's about. So that way it's not like, oh, that, you know, no, that type of reaction, because that's not the reaction I want. And if I do get that reaction from individuals, then I know then okay, that's not the topic of discussion basically in the conversation. So um and I learned that through uh our little downfall there last week. Um and I learned very quickly when I opened my mouth to a certain individual, they decided to shun me for who I was. And I've been telling people that, yeah, that was a bad decision. I shouldn't have done that.
Well,
So, I
well, we
mean,
we learn one thing I'm going to say about some things, Brandon, is we as individuals, we have to learn each day, and
mhm,
we need to learn about ourselves, and we have to always do what we call a regrouping every day. Always do some
mhm,
inventory on yourself every day. If you can do an inventory on yourself, your life gets better, things get better around you. And I think what happens with our community, our trans community, people aren't doing enough inventory on self.
right.
So, but I appreciate you for being on and speaking your piece and doing you
No
with
problem.
your new hairdo and your flag in the back.
Yeah, I got a little fresh cut. Yeah, I
So
did.
we
Thanks to
will
a neighbor.
we will actually click you out for a second. Some other folks want to come in, and we'll bring you back later on. Okay?
All right.
Thank you. So you heard it from the gay boy. Well, he's not gay. We don't know what he is. We just say Brandon. He's just Brandon. That's all he is. So, cha 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 cha. I know you have something to say on Hot Topic Tuesdays. And tonight's topic, so you know what it is how to resolve the chaos, the mess that goes on when people are in lives and discussion. And how do we stop? What was it that we were saying? Oh, how do we curtail the messiness of our community being so biased, the transgender or even any community being so biased towards each other? So I know you have something. What can we do? What is the solution? I'm quite sure you want to get involved. Now, don't tell me you're too tired and you don't want to get involved because you're going to hurt my feelings. And it looks like you're just watching. If you want to get involved, Michaela, I really want you to get involved anyway. Hit the invite button because you know I'm going to do it anyway. But if you don't get on, is there anyone else that wants to get on? Because just let me know because we're going to end this soon as possible. It's about that time of night. We're going to end this. And tomorrow night is our hot topic of Hump Day, y'all. Sex Tea Talk 101 Hump Day. Y'all know what time that is. That's tomorrow night. So, Michaela, I guess you're just sitting and watching and trying to get through it. But we're just trying to figure out what we can do. And some solutions were to speak up and pull some coattails and pull them aside gently and let them know. I'll be there to help them get through whatever they're getting through. Because sometimes when people act out, they want attention, they're seeking something or looking for something. And we were also discussing validating each other's transition. We're not here to do that. We have to validate our own journeys. And we have to really look at ourselves to validate our own journeys. It's not up to others to validate, because when others validate yourself, sometimes it's not a good thing. It can lead you astray. Oh, excuse me. It can lead you astray. So we've got to learn to aside from that.